And welcome back to Creative Thinkers. My name is Miguel Valenzuela, and as always, we bring you a special guest. Today we have Patricia Reyes. She is an artist, but also founder of the Isaac Center. Patricia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure every time to have our guests, but we always try to start out by learning a little bit about our guests. So we want to know a little bit about who you were as a child. Were you always creative? Because I know you're an artist.
Wow, yes, I didn't start creating or painting until I was 38. So as a child, it wasn't something that I did often. I was just kind of very quiet, to be honest with you. I did a lot of, as a kid, I did a lot of research, I guess, you know,
What
where
do you
I
mean?
would kind of go into a dreaming state, look at birds, look at the details of the birds, look at the details of trees, things of that nature.
Well, but when you're a kid and looking at these things, because that's one of the things that I teach in my art appreciation course, I teach individuals to appreciate not just a painting by Pablo Picasso or Michelangelo, I teach them to appreciate the world. Do you believe that that's what you were doing even as a child? Because I think as a child you're not thinking, hey look, I'm appreciating a bird. But do you think that that's what was happening? Because it's extremely important for individuals to learn this, especially at a young age. And I believe that maybe you had that gift.
Yes, absolutely. Unknowingly, right? Nature, there's so much beauty in nature. And I was always captivated by it and intrigued by it and loved to spend time in nature. So I really do believe that led to me being an artist now as an adult.
But you as an individual experiencing these things, when you're thinking about it now, in retrospect, were you analyzing these things for something that came in the future, do you believe?
I do believe so, yes.
How? Tell us.
Well,
and be as descriptive as you want.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, as I said, I didn't start painting until later on in life. So as an adult, 38 years old, I have this crisis. I experienced this crisis, and through that crisis, I believe that's where all of this came to the surface. Everything that I was experiencing as a young child, my inner world, all of that analyzing and looking at the beauty of the world, all came to the surface. But I had to move all that was keeping me from that. So there was a lot of stress, a lot of distraction. You know, as adults, we all have those periods in our life that it just gets overwhelming. And
for some of us, it's longer than others, right?
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Once that was removed, and I went into this deep world of exploring and healing, and that's how I started painting. It was really through a healing process.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the healing, because you actually do, through your foundation, something that really helps a lot of people out.
Yes.
But before we get to that point, when you grew up, so you're a child, you're experiencing all these things, what happened in between that and what you're doing today? Because I'm sure you went to school, some sort of education. What was that like?
So between that, I did get married. I had my children. I have 6 children.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
they're all, thank you. They're all creative in their own way. I'm very proud of them.
Right.
And so I did a lot of raising children, my children. And did have a business prior to this, nothing to do with art. And it was a very stressful business. And I believe that's how I ended up coming to the realization that was not the path. That was not the path for me.
And having a business of some sort, I think you said that it was a trucking or something like that?
Yes, it was.
I can imagine only how difficult that was. Not in the sense that I'm not making money, but in the sense that there's so much going on. Like it's almost overwhelming for somebody to say, hey, I'm going to take on a business, especially a successful business, right, where there's so many things going on. How now that you are in a different world, and I say different world not because art is so far to the left that it's something untouchable, but in a different world, that the way that you're thinking, how do you feel about being in this world?
Well, you know, not to say anything bad about, you know, the truck driving industry, it's awesome, but I feel for me, for me, art became more of a meditative, more of a healing, right? So now that I am in business, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like art has helped me to be present and to really organize my thoughts and organize my next move. It's not overwhelming, you know. I don't feel stressed. I'm still a family person. I'm still with my children, and we still get together. All of those elements that come with having family and providing for the family are still there. But I feel like art has helped me to navigate through that.
And one of the things that you mentioned was healing, right?
Yes.
For me, art is extremely healing in every aspect, not just when I paint or when I sculpt or when I create an idea. For me, the healing also comes with the process. Is part of it for you the process as well?
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I teach now, because as a practitioner, many times you'll have those resistance in the process. And I think that when you experience the resistance is where a lot of us, we give up.
Right.
Or we...
Right. But one thing, and sorry for interrupting you,
oh no, it's fine.
that I believe is that sometimes we create the barriers for ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you get beyond that?
Well, for me, it's helped me to become aware of that resistance and feel it. So if it's an emotion, or if it's a memory, or a past experience, I try not to cover it up. I try to feel it and become aware of it, and allow for that to incorporate into my artwork. Not analyzing it or knowing specifics about it, but just knowing that, hey, there's something that's wanting to come through, and I'm gonna go ahead and become aware of that and let it come through. And at the end result, I never think about the end result. That's one thing that I have discovered, is that in healing through art, you don't think about that. You just allow for it to flow from you.
Right.
And then you discover that resistance could have been something, you know, very simple, like a past memory that you hadn't dealt with, and it comes through, and now you're healing from it.
So is it also part of a release of some sort?
Yes, yes.
And when you're like creating this tangible thing, is it like allowing it to pass through into that place in your belief?
Yeah, I believe that. And I believe that that's what artists call flow, being in the flow. It's very magical. It's very present. And I love to experience it every time I create. And that's what I help people to connect to that.
And speaking of creativity, we're on a show called Creative Thinkers. I try to bring people in that are really thinking differently, thinking outside the box, allowing themselves that freedom. For you, how important is this idea of creativity, not just within what you do, but from what you've learned and the way that you've helped individuals?
Well, it's everything, because once you become present with it and aware of it, there's an inner wisdom that comes through as well. And it's a mystery, right? To me, it's like it's mysterious, but it's beautiful at the same time. Right. And not being afraid of that, not being afraid of not knowing, is I believe that inner wisdom that all of us should experience.
Why do you believe there is a fear? Because I'm sure that you're not the only one that experiences that.
Yeah.
Me, I feel like I'm a free thinker, experience that, you know, quite often. Why do you believe that there is that fear? And what is in reality the fear between a layman, individuals that don't really understand this concept of art, and artists? Because you kind of came from that mindset, right? What do you think the fear is, and how do we get over that?
I feel like the fear can come from self-sabotage. It can come from wanting to control. Everyone's journey is different, so I can only speak for myself, but being in an environment where things are controlled and things are, you live in a family that's always self-doubting yourself, right? So I think that fear comes from, am I doing it right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to come out right? Should I do it like the guy next to me? Should I be, researching this,
And that doesn't have to be family.
Right.
It could also be education. It could also be work or a business of some sort. So in reality, it exists all over the place.
That's right.
Why now that you have gone from one side, I could say, if I could say that, one side to the other, why do you think it's important to now bring that to others? Because that's kind of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Well, within my own family, like my children, I see like my son that's in college and how stressful it can be, right? Where he's like, Mom, why? He's questioning so many things there. I like to give my children the opportunity to connect to that through creativity,
right?
So that they don't have to, so that they have another way, an alternative way. It's just like, son, if you have something else, do it. Don't be afraid to do it, because you might be that key element that is needed to bring a solution, a creative solution to a problem that exists. And so in everything, right? Education and family and relationships. So for me, I think that we are stagnating that creative solution to many problems in the world. We're stagnating it by that fear, right? Because we've been told this is how you got to do it. This is how.
Right.
So I think that when we allow ourselves creative expression, and there's mentors that tells us, that helps us to like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to think outside the box.
Because it absolutely is. And one of the things that I think is very unfortunate is that the vast population thinks the other way. And there are few individuals that think that creativity can be something that really allows you not just the freedom of thought, but the ability to do bigger and better things, which is one of the things that you did. So you have a business, then you go through some turmoil. The turmoil then allows you to start to do some other things. What were those things? Because you were on a TV show, actually.
Yes,
yeah,
I was.
What was that about?
Well, I was on the first season of Opportunity Knocks, and they are life-changing television. They casted 6 family members. I was the only family in Texas, and I was invited through a Zoom invitation. Through they invited nonprofits to find out what the show was about, and as I was looking at the show, I thought, my goodness, this is something that would be great for my family and I. And I sent a message to them and was connected to them. I told them my story. I sat down and wrote them, hey, I'm an artist. Have a mother of 6 children, and I'm in this situation. And I was a little bit embarrassed to come out and say that, because I service the community. So that was hard to do, because I wasn't putting it out there.
Right.
So I was helping, giving creative classes, and I was dealing with a very difficult financial situation.
Oh, okay.
So
they helped you with that?
Yeah, they came in, coached me, and gave me some financial advice that was lucrative and has
life-changing.
Life-changing, absolutely.
Life-changing. How did that affect you for what you're doing now? Because you are also doing and servicing the community through your nonprofit. Give us the name so we really get that embedded into our head. And then what exactly do you do?
Okay, so the Isaac Center of Arts and Wellness, we created several art classes. That there are engagement activities that help individuals connect with their inner creative. And so it's a class where you don't need any skill, you don't need any formal teaching. I think that sometimes when a lot of the students are in front of a canvas or in front of the creative tools, they're a little bit intimidated.
They are, yes. I've seen that many times,
So what we do is we incorporate a wellness element before we start our classes. So we'll do some breath work and help them connect to the body first, mind, and then we explore the creative aspect.
And how important is creativity for what you're teaching them?
Well, I feel like it really puts you in touch with your inner child, right? Like I think that we, as especially adults, we kind of get disconnected. We get disconnected from the daily life, and creativity kind of makes you feel like, hey, you know, I'm a kid again, and there's no rules. Anything I do or I try or I attempt, I explore, something's going to come from that. It's always good. You know, it's always good.
Yeah, and one of the things, or actually one of the artists that I find really compelling is the artist, his name is Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons creates blow-up dogs, balloon dogs. One of his other pieces is also a giant puppy made of flowers. Another one of his pieces is a giant pile of Play-Doh. But it's not a pile of Play-Doh. It is actually manufactured out of aluminum to look like a giant pile of Play-Doh. And one of the things that I speak to and reference with my students in class is, why in the world do you guys think that Jeff Koons does this? They're like, well, we don't know. I mean, maybe he likes Play-Doh. And then I go on and ask them questions that allows them to learn why. And the why is, what he's doing is forcing us to understand that when we were kids, we were free.
Yeah.
We were individuals who didn't have these barriers.
Right.
If you gave me a little canister of Play-Doh, I could do anything with that Play-Doh. Yeah. I could be a pilot, I could be a race car driver, I could be a homemaker if I wanted, I could be whatever.
Right.
And that gave me the freedom, and I believe that we lose that.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example through the people that you've worked with where these individuals regain that creative idea mentality?
Well, I can give you a really good story, and this is with a woman who had just lost her son, and she and
that's a tough
yeah,
one.
this was I want to share this one because we know of so much grief in the world and so much grief that we have experienced here in El Paso. You know, this woman lost her child, her adult child, and went into a very dark place.
Understandably so, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I started to slowly make contact with her and introducing the classes to her, and a little at a time, you know, we started with just scribbles, just a shape. That was it.
And talk us through, how does that become what you then allowed her to be?
Yeah,
you know, like how does a scribble get into her mind and loosen her up and allow her to liberate herself from this place where she's at?
I feel like it's many factors. So it's the breathing, the meditative state, the allowing the healing to come through, and then engaging with that art activity. So once you are engaging with the art activity, you're not focused on what was bringing you heavy, what was heavy to you. So it gives you a time of presence, right, where your mind's not thinking of anything else, but you're engaged. And so 5 minutes that I started with her on that, you know, once a week, because that's all she was able to do.
Wow.
Ended up going to 30 minutes and then eventually to an hour and 80-minute class.
Wow.
To where, you know, I see her blossom now. I see this person blossom, and they are exploring other creative aspects, you know, learning about other things. And so I really feel, and she's expressed it to me, that she doesn't know how it happened or when it happened.
Right.
But
what happened?
She became lighter. So the heaviness, that the burden, right? So we know that death is difficult, but I feel that there are ways that we can help us get through that grieving time.
And you believe that the art is what helped her, and she has stated that.
Yes.
For her, and I don't know if you had this conversation with her, for her, how important was it to allow herself? Because I think that that's part of the process, right? I've dealt with death, as all of us have, you know, at some point or another. And part of it is to allow ourselves to move forward, right? And I feel like, from what you've said, that part of the liberating process is knocking down those barriers, allowing yourself to incorporate these other elements, being the beauty, the creativity, the aesthetic elements within what she was creating, and then moving beyond that.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. I personally saw it happen to her, to myself, even as a practitioner myself. Yeah, I feel that it's a wonderful element to incorporate into other things that we're doing to help ourselves through grief, through any difficult time.
Mm-hmm. And we all have difficult times,
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
You hit upon something that for me is very strong within who I am, and I try to be as happy as I can for the most part. I had a student one time tell me, sir, I'm having a trouble in my class because I'm kind of depressed, not in a good place. And to be quite honest, he states, I'm a very negative individual. He's all, why are you so happy all the time? And I said, I'm going to have to get back with you on that one. And the next day that we had class, I came and I told him, I go, I think the reason why I'm mostly happy, no one can ever be happy all the time, but mostly happy is because I fill my time and my mind with only beautiful things. So if I'm constantly focusing on the beauty in art, in life, in nature, then I really don't have time or space to put these negative things in there. Having said that, what part of what you do fills that void for people? In other words, are you consciously saying, I need to help these people because I can see that they need the help?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I feel like I said, through my own experience, just knowing the benefits of being of creating anything, and not necessarily has to be painting, anything that is creative, it automatically puts you into the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's power in the present moment.
Right.
And I feel that we get caught up in busy life and negative experiences, death, that we disconnect. And creativity brings you back into connection.
Can you give us examples of creativity that are not your typical creativity, so our viewing audience can say, oh, I do that, and I never even thought that it was being creative? In other words, we don't have to make a drawing or a painting or a sculpture to be creative, right?
Right. When you're in the kitchen.
Yeah, how does that work out? Are you telling me that when I make my tamales, that's being creative?
Absolutely. When you're in the kitchen and you're, putting your spices and you're being present in there and you're being joyful, and suddenly your food comes out more colorful. That's creative. That's artistic. Culinary arts is another passion of mine, and some people don't think that they're being creative or an artist in the kitchen.
Yeah, what's funny that you mentioned that, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they call sazon in Spanish.
See?
It's not really because you're seasoning the food. It is the love and the passion that you put in the food. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying, is that when you are doing these things, and it doesn't have to be cooking, it could be mowing your lawn, it could be folding the clothes, it could be making something at your house. I think, for me anyways, one of the most important aspects of being alive is being creative, right? So we need to allow that to come through. Can you give us an example of, not like you gave us right now, but an example of what some people can do in order to make themselves a little bit more creative? What are the tools that you use?
Oh, well, I always start with, a meditative practice. Mm-hmm. And that's where I allow myself, and I'll have some, people think, well, you're always so calm, cool. I have those thoughts too that come, and knock on my door and like, hey, you can't do that. Who are you? You don't have this degree. You don't have. No, you have to let them pass through. Yeah. and allow yourself to be open to a creative. So yeah, the inner creative in me is in me. It wants to flow out of me, something, right? And then for me, it's really spontaneous. I really don't know where it's going to be. Sometimes it's just, even repairing something.
Mm-hmm.
So when I become present in it, I start to see the art and the tools that I'm working with. And it's really with anything, to be honest with you.
That's very true. And one of the things for me is to allow myself the time, because that's another thing that a lot of people get caught up with is I don't have the time to do these things. Can I do it? And yes, of course, everybody can do it. We all have the ability to say, hey, instead of me focusing on that so much, I can give myself the time to be able to create something different. One of the things that I do is the same thing that you do is to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I like to cook. Prior to COVID, burgers and fries.
Yeah.
After COVID, I became an avid cook, and I just absolutely love to do that. And it really does liberate me. It's almost like a de-stressor, which is another thing that we didn't mention, but another thing that I think art and creativity allows you to do is to de-stress. Where can people see you? Because you actually have the shop where people can go in. So where are you located?
So I'm located in the city of Socorro. I am developing a new business, Café Galeria. It's an art cafe. And within that business, we also have the nonprofit, the Isaac Center of Arts and Wellness. And so anyone can come and sign up for one of our classes and learn about all aspects that are holistic, right? So we talk about meditation, we talk about wellness, alternative forms of wellness, and of course creativity is always a major play in that.
Which I absolutely love. One of the last questions I ask my guests every time is, what kind of advice can you give our viewing audience? It could be in reference to anything. Any little bit helps, so what can you tell us?
Oh gosh.
That's a deep question because it can go in any direction. So take your time, but how can the people that are watching this show right now be helped by something that you say?
Well, if anything, I would love to just encourage persons to not be intimidated by creativity or art, that it is not only for young children. It's important for young children because that's where all of that absorption, when we were young, we absorbed so much. But it's for any time, any age, at any time, and never become afraid to explore that part of you that it is your birthright.
Right.
It's your birthright.
I love the way you put it.
Yeah.
It is our birthright.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope you enjoyed yourself because
Thank
we're out
you.
of time in this show very quickly because the conversations are so deep and great. And I wanted to thank you for taking the time out. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you. I sure did. Yes.
Awesome. And I want to let everybody know that, again, you guys are watching Creative Thinkers, and my name is Miguel Valenzuela. And if you guys need or know somebody that I might want to interview, please, you can contact me at mvalen31@epcc.edu, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.